Zhao Ran accidentally enters the world of a quadrangle and triggers the welfare system at the beginning. As long as you come into contact with beautiful women with high looks, you can receive many rewards. At first it was just normal contact, talking and chatting gradually. Various beautiful women came knocking on their doors one after another until Zhao Ran publicly found a partner. The beauties exploded. Xiao'e. Why not me? Yuli, isn't it enough for me to accompany you with crabapple? Qin Huairu said, if I had known I wouldn't have married Jia Dongxu, what would I do if I regretted it? The birds were even more excited when they heard it. Zhao Ran smiled, but Fu Yuner, Happiness is the most important Feilu novel network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Qin Huairu visits to beg for food. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Qin Huairu visits to beg for food. In 1962. 4 or 9 cities. In a typical courtyard house. Zhao Ran leisurely opened his eyes and looked around with a hint of confusion. A thought came to his mind. Is it difficult for me to travel? Remember clearly. Previously, he was still buried in his work. Due to drowsiness, I took a brief nap. Unexpectedly, upon waking up, I was in this unfamiliar place. While thoughts were still flying, a wave of memories flooded into Zhao Ran's mind like a tide. Past scenes flashed before his eyes, gradually clarifying the situation before him. After a long time, he finally accepted reality. I have traveled to the world of courtyard houses and become an ordinary courtyard resident. At this moment, Zhao Ran works for a supply and marketing cooperative. The monthly income is 35 yuan. This salary is neither high nor low. But in the courtyard, he always kept a low profile and did not provoke trouble. Maintaining harmonious but not close relationships with neighbors. However, some people in the hospital often cause trouble. For example, frequently donating money to the Jia family. Even doing more despicable things, such as forcefully harassing him and his potential marriage partner. Zhao Ran felt that he was only 20 years old. Not yet at the age of being eager to start a family. But in the social atmosphere of that time, if young people at this age did not discuss marriage, it was inevitable that they would be criticized. Unfortunately, due to a previous feud with Zhonghai, it is not easy to find a suitable partner. Thinking of this, Zhao Ran couldn't help but sigh. It is not an easy task to establish and seek development in such an era. Just as Zhao Ran was lost in thought, a message suddenly appeared in his mind. Congratulations to the host, you have successfully activated the 1,000-mile marriage system. Contact with attractive women to receive rewards. Zhao Ran was taken aback and immediately realized that he seemed to have acquired some kind of system. However, the name 1,000-mile marriage system may sound somewhat inappropriate. After reading the instructions in detail, he suddenly realized. Originally, he only needed to maintain contact with those women with outstanding looks. The longer the contact time, the richer the rewards will be. Zhao Ran secretly pondered and suddenly had a thought in his mind. Does it count to have contact with people like Jia and Zhang? As soon as the thought arose, he felt a wave of discomfort, as if his stomach was churning with water. Fortunately, the system prompt appears at the appropriate time. Only women with outstanding appearance can trigger the reward mechanism. Seeing this line of small characters, Zhao Ran felt relieved. Thinking of Jia Zhang's nauseating appearance, I couldn't help but shiver. At that moment, a knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. Who is it? Zhao Ran asked. A woman's answer came from outside the door. It's me, Qin Huairu. Upon hearing this, Zhao Ran felt a little relieved in his heart. But on second thought, I realized it was not appropriate. In the original work, Qin Huairu did a lot of unethical things. However, he quickly adjusted his mindset and smiled. After all, his goal is only to interact with her to obtain system rewards. As for the rest, it doesn't matter to him. Having made up his mind, Zhao Ran stood up and opened the door. Standing outside the door was Qin Huairu, more charming than in TV dramas. Zhao Ran couldn't help but blurt out, "It's indeed you." Qin Huairu looked pitiful and said, "Zhao Ran, I know it's difficult for me to ask for your help, but I really have no choice. We don't have enough food at home, could you please allocate some for us? I will repay you when Jia Dongxu pays his salary." After hearing this, Zhao Ran sneered in his heart. When did the Jia family have the reason to repay money? This is clearly a visit to catch the autumn breeze. But he understood that Qin Huairu was also forced by the Jia family's environment. Moreover, she has outstanding beauty, and having more contact with her may bring rich rewards. So, a playful smile curved around his lips and he replied. "Qin Huairu, my family doesn't have any extra food. However, it's not difficult to get you food, it just requires your family to pay a little price." After speaking, Zhao Ran's eyes were cunningly fixed on Qin Huairu. Qin Huairu was taken aback by the words and asked, "What's the cost?" Sensing Zhao Ran's gaze, she couldn't help but take 2 steps back and asked alertly. "Zhao Ran, what do you want to do to me? What do you want to do to me? What do you think I can do to you?" At this moment, Zhao Ran stared at Qin Huairu in front of him and helplessly spread out his hand. The more times it is, the more weighty Zhao Ran's words become. After careful consideration, Qin Huairu had to admit that his words were indeed reasonable. With so many people around him, if he really has any malicious intentions, wouldn't it be immediately exposed? Since there is no malice, what do you mean by that? Qin Huairu's beautiful eyes flowed, gazing curiously at him. Zhao Ranyan is concise and concise. Aren't you in urgent need of food? I have a way. Before she could finish speaking, Qin Huairu's eyes widened and her face was filled with anticipation. And then what? What should I do? She urgently asked. Zhao Ran smiled slightly and explained. There are handmade jobs at the street office, such as pasting paper boxes or putting shoe soles, which can be easily replaced with larger ones. As a member of the supply and marketing cooperative, Zhao Ran is well versed in such information. Upon hearing these words, Qin Huairu felt secretly pleased. Is it that simple? Just stick a cardboard box. She hesitated for a moment, but our family has many children, is it suitable to do these handicrafts? Chapter 2. Jia Zhang's coming to find fault. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Jia Zhang's coming to find fault. Qin Huairu's concern made Zhao Ran roll his eyes, secretly lamenting that the situation of the Jia family was entirely self-inflicted. Jia Zhang was in his prime but was idle. Qin Huairu sighs and complains all day long. Jia Dongxu is a complete spendthrift with all 5 poisons. If it weren't for the task reward, how would Zhao Ran be willing to waste more time with them? Qin Huairu noticed Zhao Ran's emotional changes and a hint of panic flashed on her face. Then, I'll go back and think about it first. After finishing her words, she hurriedly left without saying more. Zhao Ran looked at her back and gently shook his head. However, a hint of curiosity surged deep within him. What kind of reward will you receive this time? As soon as the thought arose, a series of prompts came to mind. The interaction with Qin Huairu has been completed, and the strength has doubled. Rewards. 1 bag of flour, 3 pounds of white sugar, 20 pounds of pork, 20 Great Unity tickets, and 20 industrial vouchers. Zhao Ran's eyes lit up, and his first concern was the doubling of power. He pinched the corner of the table. He effortlessly pressed a gravure print with his thumb. I feel that the surging force inside my body is more than 10 times stronger than before. Originally, his strength was not outstanding. Now I can easily lift at least 500 pounds of heavy objects. Then, he was quite satisfied with the food reward. In this era of food scarcity, the sudden increase in food reserves at home undoubtedly solved the urgent need. What surprised him even more were the 20 Great Unity and 20 Industrial Vouchers. In this era, the role of industrial vouchers is quite significant. Almost all daily necessities use this voucher. An ordinary family has 5 cards in a month that are already sky-high. Not bad, Zhao Ran secretly praised and then thought to himself. Will Qin Huairu inform Jia Zhang of this news after returning home? He knew that once Jia Zhang learned about this, there might be a stir in the family. At this moment, the Jia family is performing another scene. Jia Zhang sat at home anxiously waiting for Qin Huairu to return. Why haven't you come back yet? What did she go to find Zhao Ran for? She murmured to herself. Jia Dongxu beside him interjected, Mom, didn't you ask her to go find Zhao Ran and order some food? If we succeed, our family will have food to eat. Jia Zhang nodded slightly, feeling quite proud of his strategy. Jia Dongxu was even more impressed by his mother. Mom, you really have a way. Let's go and ask for other people's food directly, I dare not refuse to give it to them. During the orthogonal conversation between mother and son, Qin Huairu finally returned. Along the way, pondering Zhao Ran's words, but shy to speak. Jia Zhang's face darkened instantly when she saw her empty-handed. Didn't you ask Zhao Ran for noodles? Why did you come back empty-handed? Where's the noodles? Qin Huairu hesitated and said, Zhao Ran has no noodles there. But he provided a way to quickly obtain food. Upon hearing this, Jia Dongxu suddenly became energized and hurriedly urged him to ask. What's the solution? Speak up. Jia Dongxu also had a proud and imposing appearance. Seeing Qin Huairu stuttering, he became even more furious. What are you procrastinating on? Tell me quickly what idea Zhao Ran gave you. Qin Huairu took a deep breath and gritted her scalp, saying. He said we can take on the work of pasting cardboard boxes and collecting shoe soles from the street office, and exchange the fruits of our labor for food. Upon hearing this, Jia Zhang and Jia Dongxu looked at each other, obviously not expecting such an answer. After Jia Zhang reacted, he became furious. Zhao Ran, this guy, actually wants us to do coolies to exchange for food. At this moment, Jia Zhang stood on the side, witnessing the scene before her. The anger in my heart churned like hot lava. Jia Zhang pointed to the focus of the topic while speaking. This move happened to catch Jia Dongxu's eye. He captured all the information in an instant. Jia Dongxu angrily asserted. Zhao Ran is clearly trying to use us to deceive labor. This scumbag must expose his ugly face and let everyone see him clearly. Upon hearing these words, Qin Huairu felt a heavy blow to her heart and was greatly shocked. In her opinion, Zhao Ran's suggestion was not inappropriate. It is puzzling to be relentlessly pursuing him for this matter now. Her face showed anxiety, and her eyebrows were filled with worries. What does this matter have to do with Zhao Ran? He was originally kind-hearted, but now he is facing unfounded accusations. Is it too difficult to find him to argue like this? Jia Zhang firmly emphasized. We must settle accounts with him, otherwise we will never give up. Jia Dongxu agreed without hesitation. Yes, we must go find him immediately and figure out this account. All day long, come up with some bad ideas. Qin Huairu looked at their figures leaving with great momentum, her heart full of mixed feelings, full of confusion and helplessness. Zhao Ran kindly provided advice, but now he may face criticism for it. This is clearly a kind of unreasonable disturbance. She hesitated to speak, with indescribable entanglements surging in her heart. Zhao Ran was unaware of all this at the moment. He sat alone at home, feeling the immense changes in the world compared to the present and the past. The past is vividly remembered, forming a sharp contrast with the present, which does not prevent him from feeling extremely emotional. Suddenly, a shout came from outside the door. Zhao Ran, get out of here. Zhao Ran was taken aback at the sound. Recognizing that it was Jia Zhang's voice, confusion arose in his heart. Why did they suddenly come knocking on me? Is it because the advice I discussed with Qin Huairu was learned by them and they came to find fault? Chapter 3. Want to touch porcelain? Dreaming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Want to touch porcelain? Dreaming. Without much hesitation, Zhao Ran decisively opened the door and prepared to face the problem directly. The door leaf is open. Jia Zhang's face, full of sharp acid wrinkles, immediately jumped into view. Zhao Ran's expression remained calm, and he asked calmly. What's up with you coming to your door? Jia Zhang straightened her waist and responded with a cold snort. Zhao Ran, did you encourage our family to be self-sufficient and earn food through labor? How dare you plan on Qin Huairu and let us work hard in vain? This account needs to be calculated well. She stretched out her withered hand as she spoke, like a debt collector. Zhao Ran's gaze turned to Qin Huairu. She looked embarrassed and silently lowered her head. At this point, Zhao Ran has basically figured out the process of the incident. Qin Huairu did not notice any suspicious plot, on the contrary, Jia Zhang believed that she intended to frame them. Zhao Ran responded candidly, did I say it wrong? I'm just suggesting that if your family has a shortage of food, you can try to exchange it for labor. But now you're running to my house and messing around, are you trying to extort money? He asked with a sharp tone. At first, Zhao Ran thought that only by getting close to beautiful women could he receive rewards. At this moment, a spiritual light flashed through his mind. Perhaps, as long as it elicits a strong response and attracts the attention of many beautiful women, the goal can also be achieved. At this thought, a hint of cunning flashed in his eyes. He sternly questioned Jia and Zhang. Why do you want to come over to my house and touch the porcelain? Dreaming. Jia Zhang was intimidated by Zhao Ran's sudden tough demeanor and remained speechless for a moment. His face instantly turned ugly. Jia Dongxu saw the situation on the side, burning with anger, and was about to come forward with a fist. Do you want to take action on my mother? Zhao Ran sneered. Not only do you want to take advantage of me for nothing, but you also want to use violence against me. Come on, I'll continue. Zhao Ran's provocative words were like thunderbolts from the clear sky, leaving Jia Zhang and Jia Dongxu stunned for a moment, unsure of how to respond. With the increasing number of onlookers, Zhao Ran felt a sense of joy in his heart. The more people there are, the better. The higher the attention of beautiful women, the more abundant my rewards will be. He outlined a proud smile at the corner of his mouth, scanned the crowd with his gaze, and loudly asked. What? I made a reasonable suggestion and became a criminal. Is that what you're saying? Zhonghai emerged from the crowd and stood forward. What's going on? Why did you suddenly start arguing? Jia Dongxu seemed to have found a protector and quickly whimpered about his grievances. A master is definitely his master and will protect him. Sure enough. Zhonghai was very angry about Zhao Ran's performance after listening to it. Zhao Ran, it's all you're doing. Zhao Ran looked at Zhonghai in front of him with a smile on his face. I actually find his sudden finding fault quite comical. Mr. E, it seems inappropriate for you to come and preside over the so-called justice for no reason, right, he said. Who let an old man suddenly intervene? He deserves to be scolded. Those who only believe one side of the story should be taught a good lesson. At this moment, Zhonghai's face changed noticeably. He is indeed suspected of favoring the Jia family. But at this moment, everything has undergone a subtle transformation. Zhonghai stood there, looking at Zhao Ran with a smile on his face. Zhao Ran, as a person, one should not only think about oneself, but also consider others more. Our goal is to help others, not to cause trouble, it.Zhao said seriously. Zhao Ran watched this scene quietly from the side. I find it.Zhang's seemingly nonsensical rhetoric very ridiculous. But he has no intention of accommodating it.Zhang. Joking, everyone is raised by their parents. Why tolerate him everywhere? Besides, Zhao Ran is aware that it is not realistic for him to have contact with other women. Since that's the case, it's better to confront others head-on. In this way, the surrounding area will definitely attract other women and also receive rewards. Therefore, his attitude towards such matters has become quite clear. Watching this scene, Zhao Ran suddenly smiled. Grandpa E, you can't say that. Isn't my idea helpful? Do I have to deliver the food to their mouths? I have done my utmost benevolence and righteousness. If the Jia family refuses to do anything, they can't rely on me for everything, can they? He spread out his hands and made a helpless expression. However, as soon as these words were spoken, Zhonghai's eyebrows immediately furrowed. Obviously, I am extremely dissatisfied with this. What's going on? How dare Zhao Ran openly confront him? The people around nodded in agreement. Zhao Ran is right. The Jia family cannot always rely on others. Jia Zhang has been idle all day, what kind of weight has she gained? Grandpa E still upholds her, really. Just as everyone was discussing, it.Zhang's face became even more awkward. After all, he, who had no children under his knee, relied on Jia Dongxu to support him in his later years. How could he not protect the Jia family in this situation? However, at this moment, Lu Haizhong quickly interjected. Even so, you can't force them. The Jia family still has children, it's not easy to raise them. Not to mention whether there is time for work, the family still has to be busy with work, there's not so much energy. Blame it on your idea for not being good enough. Chapter 4. Yan Bugui concludes that Zhao Ran is not an ordinary person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Yan Bugui concludes that Zhao Ran is not an ordinary person. Lu Haizhong's statement clearly sided with it.Zhang. But the truth is not so. He just took the opportunity to enhance his authority in the courtyard. For someone at this moment, this scene undoubtedly suits their heart. However, just as the Bangs finished speaking, Zhao Ran's lips curved into a cold smile. He glanced at the Bangs and spoke sharply. Second Grandpa, your words are really lacking in quality and extremely biased. According to your logic, can others' lives be tiring, so they don't have to work anymore? Take a look at Jia Zhang, and then take a look at Liang Erdi's family. Which one is not a family member? Zhao Ran waved his hand and spoke frankly. As soon as these words were spoken, Lu Haizhong's face and ears immediately turned red. I originally wanted to brush off a sense of presence, but Zhao Ran mercilessly rejected it, feeling quite unhappy in his heart. Just as the center of the Bangs was pondering the ups and downs, Yan Bugui, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke up. Lao Lu, your words are indeed inappropriate. We have to make a point in dealing with people and things. Why not hold on to Zhao Ran alone? Yan Bugui's words attracted frequent nods from the people around him. It is widely believed that this move is excessive and unnecessary to entangle. Yeah, what's the point of saying this little thing over and over again? Excess. Let's break up now. That's right, let's not worry about the Jia Zhang family in the future. As soon as these words were spoken, Jia Zhang felt shocked and anxious as if she had been struck by lightning. How should one make ends meet after cutting off the financial aid? The sudden change made her flustered. Zhao Ran looked at Jia Zhang's embarrassment and slightly raised the corner of his mouth. Why, Jia Zhang, do you still want to continue begging for money? This sentence was like a hard slap on Jia Zhang's face. Even though she has thick skin, she can't help but frown. She glared angrily at Zhao Ran and got up to leave. Zhao Ran looked at Jia Zhang's back and pretended to be surprised. Are you leaving now? I thought you would stay a little longer and chat. In fact, he understood in his heart that the Jia family had no face left and could only leave in a hurry. Seeing all of this, Zhonghai frowned tightly. Zhao Ran, who usually appears simple and honest, suddenly spoke with a sharp edge. If this continues, it may ruin his carefully planned major event. So, his gaze locked on Zhao Ran and he solemnly warned. Zhao Ran, I advise you to be more generous in your future actions. What should be said and what should not be said, weigh it carefully for yourself. Faced with Zhonghai's reprimand, Zhao Ran chuckled. Thinking to myself that everyone has left, why bother paying attention? However, he also secretly anticipated what kind of reward he would receive this time. Coincidentally, the system rings. Congratulations to the host for successfully contacting Qin Huairu, Rainwater, and obtaining master-level calligraphy in painting skills. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 10 boxes of milk, 50 pounds of beef and mutton each, 1 copper pot, and 20 portions of paired instant meat. At this moment, Zhao Ran's heart shook and he froze. Oh my, this reward is surprisingly generous. However, he immediately burst into laughter. This, master-level calligraphy in painting skill, although it is a reward. For someone who works in a supply and marketing cooperative, it doesn't seem to be of great use. Wait, no. He suddenly remembered that calligraphy with neat and beautiful handwriting could really come in handy when it comes to bookkeeping. So, his gaze returned to reality. Feeling calm, there was not much expectation for these rewards. It feels like an additional benefit given by the system, which is truly rare. 10 boxes of milk, 50 pounds of beef and mutton each, 1 copper pot, and 20 portions of paired instant pork. Zhao Ran's mouth curved slightly, and he couldn't help but sigh inwardly for fun. With so much food, I'm afraid I'll have to eat it for a while. What made him even more unbelievable was, just because I had an intersection with 2 beautiful women, I gained so much. As soon as this idea came to mind, he fell into contemplation. Can I use this mechanism to intentionally brush rewards? However, after a brief moment of contemplation, he dispelled this idea. If you rely solely on this approach, it may be too tedious. Therefore, he decided to let nature take its course and not deliberately do it. At this moment, his heart suddenly became clear, believing that this was an opportunity worth seizing. Recalling the conflict with Zhonghai just now, Zhao Ran had no worries. It was Bugui's offer of assistance that puzzled him quite a bit. Why would he help himself? After pondering for a moment, he decided to find an opportunity to further contact Bugui. As for the others in the courtyard, he believed that most of them had poor character and did not need to have deep friendships. With his thoughts at this point, Zhao Ran lay down satisfied and rested. Little did they know that in the other corner of the courtyard, the Yan family was causing a stir because of him. Bugui sat alone there, pondering over Zhao Ran's behavior. He had a premonition that this move would make Zhonghai and Lu Haizhong hold a grudge and seek revenge. At this moment, the 3 aunties scolded him with a worried expression, fearing that the 2 of them would find fault. Bugui remained indifferent. Let them make a fuss, what does it have to do with me? Furthermore, Zhao Ran is not an ordinary person. As soon as these words were spoken, the 3 aunties' eyes lit up, noticing that Bugui had already seen the clues. At this moment, several children from the Yan family came over and were instantly attracted by the topic. The eldest son Jicheng did not agree. Believing that Zhao Ran is just an ordinary employee of a supply and marketing cooperative, it is difficult to achieve anything. The other children also agreed and believed that their father had taken a wrong look. Zhao Ran was just good at disguising himself and deceiving his father. What happened to locking the door in Chapter 5? You are listening at novelfull.audio. What happened to locking the door in Chapter 5? Faced with questioning, Yan Bugui did not argue. Believe firmly in your own judgment. At this moment, Yuli asked Zhao Ran if he really had the ability to understand the whole story. Yan Bugui was slightly surprised. Subsequently, it detailed the process of Zhao Ran's verbal battle between the first and second elders, as well as the Jia and Zhang clans. Upon hearing this, Yuli was quite shocked. Being able to make those elders speechless is indeed a remarkable person. With Yuli's understanding, Yan Bugui felt relieved and continued. In the courtyard, Yi Zhonghai, Lu Haizhong, and others are like feces-stirring sticks. How could I be entangled with them? Yuli strongly agrees and expresses her willingness to have more contact with Zhao Ran. Upon seeing this, Yan Jiqing quickly reminded Yuli that she was already married and should not be too close to Zhao Ran. Yuli gave him a dissatisfied glare and spat. Virtue. Later, she approached Yan Bugui and whispered softly. Yan Bugui suggested that if it is inconvenient for Yuli, she may introduce the crabapple to Zhao Ran. As soon as he said this, Yan Jiqing's face softened slightly and he nodded in agreement. However, the three mothers still have concerns that such an arrangement may be detrimental to their own families. Yan Bugui is puzzled. What's wrong? Zhao Ran is both excellent and may bring unexpected benefits. Zhao Ran was not clear in his heart. Yi Zhonghai had already arranged everything properly last night. However, perhaps it was because of last night's incident. Zhao Ran clearly sensed that the people around him were full of hostility towards him. Among them, except for Yi Zhonghai and Lu Haizhong. And the Jia family in their group, none of them are fuel-efficient lamps. Now, since they are like this, Zhao Ran is too lazy to care. Anyway, in his opinion, none of these matters. However, since that's the case, I'll just lock the door. Zhao Ran thought while taking out a lock and deftly locked it. Just then, a voice came from not far away. Zhao Ran, why did you lock the door? This voice is exactly Yi Zhonghai. His sudden appearance made Zhao Ran feel very comical. Don't lock the door, are you waiting for my belongings to be stolen? Zhao Ran spread out his hands and looked at the other person, saying helplessly. Upon hearing these words, Yi Zhonghai's eyebrows couldn't help but furrow slightly. For some reason, Zhao Ran's mention of this made him feel a wave of displeasure. Our courtyard hasn't been locked for many years. If the sign of advanced in our courtyard falls off with your lock, who will be held responsible? Yi Zhonghai stared at Zhao Ran and asked seriously. Upon hearing this, Zhao Ran found it very amusing. Is there a monthly bonus for golden hair in this advanced courtyard? Zhao Ran asked back, and as soon as he said this, Yi Zhonghai's face instantly changed. In fact, there are indeed bonuses, but they have all been secretly deposited into his own pocket by him. But he wouldn't admit it even if he died. Yi Zhonghai was momentarily speechless, but quickly adjusted his state and said with a black face. Nonsense, there's no such bonus. Your act of locking the door, if spread, would have a negative impact on our courtyard. Regarding this, Zhao Ran just smiled indifferently. Oh. If my belongings are really lost, I'll take full responsibility on you, and everyone will give me a certificate. When people around me heard it, they found it quite fresh. Although I have never heard of anyone's house being stolen in the courtyard. But they also joined in one after another. Okay, why is it difficult? If you lose something, just find Yi Zhonghai to compensate. Yes, in a large courtyard, who would do that sneaky thing? Although that's the case, some people don't reason with you when they do things. Everyone is full of gossip. Zhao Ran did not pay much attention. Just glanced away and said lightly. I won't say much, Yi Zhonghai. Just remember what you said yourself. As for whether the Jia family would steal things, Zhao Ran doesn't believe it at all. From the courtyard to the supply and marketing cooperative, there are only a few alleys separated. But what puzzled Zhao Ran was that he didn't receive the system reward just now. He muttered to himself. Strange, what's going on? After pondering for a while, Zhao Ran roughly guessed the reason. If I had known earlier, I should have had another argument with Zhonghai. He was deeply regretful when he heard someone calling him in his ear. Zhao Ran, are you here? Zhao Ran looked up. It turned out to be Li Erniu, a salesperson from a supply and marketing cooperative who was about the same age as him. On weekdays, they call him Erniu. Erniu, didn't the leader come? You look a bit off today, Zhao Ran asked with concern. Li Erniu sighed and replied. Isn't that right? I heard we have a new batch of goods here, and the leader asked us to handle it. Upon hearing this, Zhao Ran's mind immediately flashed with a thought. Is it because this batch of goods can't be sold that you asked me to handle the pot? He was thinking about it, looked around with his eyes raised, and then waved his hand and said. Let's not talk about this for now. I'll go ask the leader for specific information. After all, as a member of a supply and marketing cooperative, if there is too much backlog of goods, not only do we need to write an inventory report, but we may also face criticism. In the past, when they purchased goods, they would choose some daily consumables to quickly sell inventory. But now Zhao Ran was pondering to find the leader, but the leader took the initiative to approach him. Zhao Ran, are you here? Chapter 6. Young and Beautiful Lu Xiao'e. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Young and Beautiful Lu Xiao'e. Zhao Ran thought to himself. I really came for whatever I wanted. I was worried about not being able to find him, so he brought it to my door himself. He quickly greeted, leader. Standing in front of him was a middle-aged man in his 50s, with a pale complexion. But seeing Zhao Ran, his expression slightly softened. Zhao Ran quickly stepped forward and said, Leader, what's wrong with you? Is it because of that batch of goods? Upon hearing this, the leader's face changed and he said, Go in and speak. Zhao Ran followed a middle-aged man into the office and calmly looked around. I have to admit, although this office is not luxurious, but orderly and neat. Zhao Ran looked directly at Wang De across from him and asked directly. Director, what do you need me for? As soon as he said this, Wang De's gaze immediately focused on him. His eyebrows furrowed slightly, clearly troubled by something in his heart. However, looking at Zhao Ran, he seemed to catch a hint of inspiration and said earnestly. Zhao Ran, this situation is really helpless. You should know that our supply and marketing cooperative has just received a batch of new products, right? Zhao Ran nodded lightly and had a slight ear for this batch of goods. For a moment, he was at a loss as to how to deal with the sudden challenge. However, just as he was calculating in his heart, Wang De continued. I admit, I didn't anticipate this issue. But no matter what, we must try to sell this batch of goods in the near future. After Wang De finished speaking, Zhao Ran responded with a faint smile and said. Rest assured, leader. I will find a solution as soon as possible. He thought to himself, agreeing verbally first. I really can't solve it. Just find a reason to evade it at that time. With this thought, his heart became even more determined. Just as Zhao Ran was pondering alone, Wang De seemed not eager to ask further questions. It seems that Zhao Ran's response has given him some comfort. Later, he waved his hand and gestured. All right, you go ahead and get busy first. If you have nothing else to do during this period, read more books to enrich yourself. If you don't have a book at hand, you can come to me to look for it. Upon hearing this, Zhao Ran couldn't help but be taken aback, pondering whether Wang De's words contained any underlying meaning. He speculated that perhaps the leader was hinting at the need for self-improvement in preparation for future promotion. But then I realized that perhaps this was just a psychological tactic commonly used by leaders, intending to manipulate themselves. Zhao Ran didn't want to get too caught up in this and decided to first understand the situation on the spot before making a judgment. With a plethora of questions, Zhao Ran walked straight towards the warehouse. When he witnessed the goods in the warehouse with his own eyes, an incredible expression instantly appeared on his face. I even doubt if I have been blinded. I saw a phonograph prominently placed among them, and he couldn't help but mutter. Are these people crazy? Why buy a phonograph? After repeatedly confirming the authenticity of the scene in front of Zhao Ran, his face was full of confusion. He couldn't figure out why the leader made such a decision. But what can be certain is that such products are definitely difficult to sell. Who will sell this kind of thing to? Zhao Ran thought to himself that according to the current situation, there are only a few people who have the ability to purchase a phonograph. The Lu family may have this strength, but how could they possibly buy from me? Zhao Ran's mind flashed with this idea, and then he self-denied it. On the one hand, he is currently unable to leave this place, on the other hand, even if one can leave, relying solely on existing conditions is far from enough. Zhao Ran pondered for a moment and had a preliminary plan in his heart. He decided to temporarily put this matter on hold until a suitable time was found before seeking alternative solutions. So he turned around and prepared to leave. Just then he ran into Li Erniu. Li Erniu seemed to have already understood everything and took the initiative to ask. Zhao Ran, did the director ask you to help promote the phonograph? Zhao Ran smiled slightly and agreed. However, when faced with Li Erniu's question, he was momentarily speechless and didn't know how to elaborate. I thought I could gather some clues from Li Erniu, but ended up with no success. This made Zhao Ran feel doubly disappointed. Just as the two were lost in thought, a crisp female voice floated in. Hello, I'm here to buy something. Zhao Ran followed the sound and saw a woman dressed in gorgeous silk standing tall and graceful. Although her appearance is not stunning, her fair face is unforgettable. Zhao Ran fixed his gaze and exclaimed in surprise. Isn't this Lu Xiao'e? At this moment, he felt secretly happy in his heart. Worried about this batch of unsold goods, I didn't expect to meet Lu Xiao'e here by chance. It seems that the future of this batch of goods is promising. Zhao Ran warmly introduced Lu Xiao'e with a smile on his face. You can choose, we have everything here. Including rare phonographs on the market. Upon hearing it, Lu Xiao'e's eyes lit up instantly. Do you have a phonograph here? Lu Xiao'e's eyes lit up as she instinctively looked at Zhao Ran, her eyes filled with anticipation. Zhao Ran saw this and slightly raised the corner of his mouth, emitting a light smile. He did not expect that Lu Xiao'e would become interested in the phonograph. However, upon careful consideration, it is also reasonable. The Lu family is a prestigious family. Lu Xiao'e has been living in wealth and luxury since childhood, enjoying a luxurious lifestyle. It is reasonable to have a preference for such stylish objects. Besides, getting close to her can also earn system rewards, why not do it? Chapter 7. Lu Xiao'e has a crush on Zhao Ran. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Lu Xiao'e has a crush on Zhao Ran. Zhao Ran pondered in his heart. Looking back at Lu Xiao'e, she patiently began to explain. I don't know if he is married. This idea suddenly flashed through Zhao Ran's mind. At the same time, Lu Xiao'e's heart was also like a deer bumping around. She has never had such close contact with a man before. Moreover, Zhao Ran has a handsome appearance, which does not prevent her from feeling ripples in her heart. As a daughter in the waiting room. Although her family has mentioned many marriage matters for her, none of them have caught her eye. At this moment, facing Zhao Ran's eloquence, she was inexplicably moved. It seems not impossible to form a relationship with him. Lu Xiao'e stole a glance at Zhao Ran, smiled, and nodded lightly. I'll take both the phonograph and the record. Zhao Ran was slightly surprised by the words, as he had never expected Lu Xiao'e to be so decisive. Despite a slight surprise in his heart, he still maintained a gentle smile on his face. "If you don't mind, I can deliver these items directly to your home." After listening, Lu Xiao'e's cheeks turned slightly red and she felt a little shy. Would this not be good? She looked up at Zhao Ran with a hint of inquiry in her eyes. Zhao Ran appeared very calm. "No problem, just by the way. It's not very safe for a beautiful woman like you to walk outside holding numerous items." With these words, Lu Xiao'e's heart was as sweet as drinking honey, and her fondness for Zhao Ran deepened. Li Erniu beside him was stunned and couldn't help but marvel. "This kid is too powerful, isn't he?" He was stunned, as if he could swallow an egg. The scene before us is truly unbelievable. Despite being surprised, Li Erniu still gave a thumbs up and admired Zhao Ran's methods. Zhao Ran saw that the time was ripe and suggested setting off. In his opinion, the reward this time is definitely generous and full of expectations. Lu Xiao'e was completely unaware of this, just silently following behind Zhao Ran. This subtle atmosphere made Zhao Ran feel a bit strange, but he couldn't explain the reason. Not long after, Wang De walked out. Seeing Zhao Ran and a woman leave, one cannot help but wonder. Where is Zhao Ran going? Are you still carrying a girl? Li Erniu saw the situation and quickly explained. Director, Zhao Ran has delivered the goods. Delivery. Wang De became increasingly confused, as the sudden delivery left him completely confused. Despite confusion, he still instructed. After delivering the goods, hurry back and focus on selling the phonograph. Just as Wang De was entangled in this matter, Li Erniu spread his hand and said. The phonograph has already been sold. Upon hearing this, Wang De was even more surprised. So fast. How did it sell? Li Erniu pointed towards the distance and answered awkwardly. That's the one. Wang De looked in the direction and a surprise gradually appeared on his face. I see, he actually did it. It's really remarkable, truly Zhao Ran. He praised, a good gift, Zhao Ran's work is reliable. You all need to learn from him well. Zhao Ran followed Lu Xiao'e into her home. The familiar scene caught his eye, almost identical to what he remembered. The scenes on TV once made him feel ordinary. However, when he was there, Zhao Ran's inner shock was indescribable. This environment is on par with his hometown in his previous life. You should know that it was not easy to have such a standard of living in the 1960s. He sighed to himself, I had no direct understanding of the wealth of the Lu family earlier, but now I have seen it with my own eyes, and I cannot help but admire it. Despite the ups and downs in his heart, Zhao Ran remained calm on the surface. He knew that there must be a reason behind such prosperity, perhaps not unattainable. Lu Xiao'e had a shy expression on her face, and her gratitude overflowed in words. Thank you very much. If it weren't for your help, I really wouldn't know what to do. Zhao Ran waved his hand and humbly said. It's just a piece of cake. Can you try using this object? If it's not suitable, I'll help you replace it. Lu Xiao'e nestled beside her, feeling a strong dependence on Zhao Ran. She began debugging the phonograph, filled with curiosity. The old gramophone at home has long been damaged and has not been listened to for a long time. At this moment, restarting, a beautiful melody flows out, and a sense of happiness instantly fills my heart. She looked at Zhao Ran and knew that it was all because of him. Zhao Ran smiled calmly and prepared to leave. Lu Xiao'e suddenly called out to him with a hint of urgency. Zhao Ran looked at her in confusion, and Lu Xiao'e felt a bit embarrassed. After hesitating for a moment, she asked. Can I find a time to see you? In this conservative era, it is rare for women to actively propose visiting the opposite sex. Lu Xiao'e's cheeks flushed and she felt uneasy in her heart. Zhao Ran thought to himself. Could it be that Lu Xiao'e is interested in me? But he did not delve into it, but responded calmly. If you have time to visit, I welcome you at any time. Lu Xiao'e was quite satisfied with this answer and the two agreed to meet in the future. Zhao Ran turned around and left, while Lu Xiao'e's gaze closely followed. Until his figure disappeared from sight, my heart suddenly felt empty. At this moment, a familiar voice came from the side. What are you looking at when people have already walked away? Lu Xiao'e was startled and turned to find her mother standing next to her, with a smile on her face. Mom, when did you come? Lu Xiao'e's face was full of shyness and she was momentarily stuttered. My mother joked, I've been standing here for a while and you haven't even noticed. Seeing Lu Xiao'e's embarrassed expression, her mother added. That young man looks pretty good. If you like him, hurry up. Chapter 8. Rich System Rewards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Rich System Rewards. Upon hearing these words, Lu Xiao'e felt both embarrassed and anxious. Mom, why are you talking like that? But the mother didn't take it seriously. I see others as having good character. If you're interested, why not actively strive for it? After listening, Lu Xiao'e's heart moved and she secretly decided to take action. Suddenly, she patted her head. Oh no, I haven't asked his full name yet. At this moment, 2 lines of prompts suddenly popped up in front of Zhao Ran's eyes. Congratulations to the host for successfully contacting Lu Xiao'e and increasing her charm. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 200 Great Unity tickets, 50 industrial tickets, and 300 skewers of ZZ grilled meat, such as pigs, cows, and sheep. He was momentarily stunned, his eyebrows slightly raised unintentionally. Zhao Ran was quite surprised by the sudden news. But soon, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he thought to himself. The charm has improved, which is good news. Although there is some disbelief in my heart. But upon closer examination, it is only natural that I have been with Lu Xiao'e for a long time and my personal charm has improved. Then, he noticed the next reward. 200 Great Unity tickets, 50 industrial tickets, and 300 skewers of ZZ grilled meat, such as pigs, cows, and sheep. He couldn't help but smile slightly and thought to himself. This reward is quite substantial, not bad. After a brief surprise, Zhao Ran realized that he had gained a lot in a short period of time, and his heart became increasingly hopeful. He decided, let's go home first. So, while masturbating, he took a step forward and walked back eagerly. Returning to the familiar place, the skewers were already full. Zhao Ran noticed that everyone around him was staring at him. There is a hint of curiosity and exploration in the eyes. He didn't know why, so he casually asked. Why are you all looking at me like this? Is it because the grilled skewers are so fragrant that the taste has touched the clothes? Before he could finish speaking, his friendly Erniu approached and asked with a wry expression. Honestly explain, what exactly is the situation? Under the gaze of everyone, Zhao Ran calmly responded. There's nothing else, just send the person home, and then I'll come back. He spoke in a relaxed tone, as if talking about something very ordinary. After hearing this, Li Erniu thumbed up and praised. Zhao Ran, being able to sell that phonograph is really impressive. We all admire you. In the midst of discussion, a man in his 30s walked in and said, I was introduced by Lu Xiao'e and I want to buy something here. Upon hearing this, Zhao Ran immediately warmly welcomed. Please follow me. Wait for the man to explain his needs. He wants to purchase 30 kilograms of grain and exchange it for some cloth. Zhao Ran quickly prepared everything for it. After the transaction was completed, the man did not leave, but instead made a suggestion. If you could sell bicycles here, it would be even more perfect if they were paired with sewing machines. Upon hearing the smile, Zhao Ran understood in his heart. Although this type of product is not a regular reserve of supply and marketing cooperatives, there is indeed market demand. After thinking for a moment, Zhao Ran responded. Okay, I will apply to my superiors. The man nodded in satisfaction after listening. If I can really apply, that would be great. I'll come back in a few days. After speaking, he turned around and left. Upon witnessing this scene, Li Erniu and others gathered around and curiously asked. Zhao Ran, what did he make just now? Zhao Ran smiled and replied, he said he wants to buy a bicycle. Upon hearing this, Li Erniu looked surprised. Where did we get the bicycles? Even if we have them, we can't sell them casually, can we? In the eyes of everyone, this seems to be just a joke casually mentioned by customers. However, Zhao Ran picked up a pen and paper and began to write. Everyone was puzzled and asked questions one after another. Zhao Ran, what are you doing? After observing for a while, they gradually understood Zhao Ran's intention to apply for the purchase of non-traditional goods such as bicycles. Li Erniu widened his eyes and said, do you really plan to apply? He reminded that the Supply and Marketing Cooperative conducts monthly inventory, and if the purchased goods are unsold, they may face criticism. Faced with everyone's concerns, Zhao Ran remained unusually firm. I believe what he said is true, there is a great demand for such products in the local market. Moreover, even if there is a risk, I am willing to bear it. After speaking, his eyes were bright and full of confidence. Just then, Wang De walked over. Glancing at Zhao Ran's handwriting, I couldn't help but ask. Zhao Ran, is this character yours? Zhao Ran slowly raised his head and his gaze fell on Wang De in front of him. The other party nodded slightly and responded, Director. Who else besides you can write such a character around here? Zhao Ran said with a smile. Wang De nodded repeatedly, praising Zhao Ran's calligraphy to the fullest. He was well aware of the mystery, but without hesitation, he praised. Zhao Ran, your handwriting is really beautiful. If you're willing to sell, I'll be the first to buy. Upon hearing this, everyone couldn't help but focus their attention on it and discuss it one after another. Is what the leader said true? Can words still sell for money? How did Zhao Ran develop this good handwriting? Has he ever considered selling characters? The attention and expectations of everyone made the atmosphere on site even more lively. Zhao Ran's heart moved, and the sale of characters seemed not out of reach. Perhaps you could try writing some couplets for sale, which can showcase your talents and also subsidize your household expenses. However, he has no such experience and is somewhat hesitant. Let's talk about selling characters later. Wang De saw Zhao Ran's thoughts and proposed. Don't rush to deny it yet, you can try creating some calligraphy and painting. If it can be sold, only the corresponding taxes and fees need to be paid. Although I don't want to make a fortune from this, I can still find something for everyone to do. Chapter 9. Su Damao's Beautiful and Cute Cousin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Su Damao's Beautiful and Cute Cousin. After hearing this, Zhao Ran readily agreed. I'll start writing later. By the way, Director, I would like to apply for a batch of bicycles. Is it feasible? Wang De was slightly surprised at the words and asked for the specific quantity. Zhao Ran pondered for a moment and proposed to apply for 10 vehicles first. As soon as he said this, everyone around him was surprised, not expecting him to apply so much. Wang De reminded with concern. Zhao Ran, isn't 10 too many? Even if it's on the rise, usually only 1 or 2 cars are applied for. Besides, bicycles are not hot-selling products, we are just a supply and marketing cooperative here. Zhao Ran firmly believes in market demand. Director, I think 10 cars may not be enough. Our population is dense, and there will be a high demand for bicycles. Wang De and others hold reservations about this. I believe that buying a bicycle is only possible when there is a happy occasion at home. Zhao Ran, however, was confident. I believe someone will definitely buy it, and not just a few. The market absolutely exists. Zhao Ran's resolute expression caught everyone's attention, casting curious glances. Zhao Ran reiterated, I am confident that there is a market in this area, and if there are any problems, I am willing to take responsibility. Faced with Zhao Ran's insistence, Wang De ultimately decided to let go and give it a try. Okay, please give me the necessary data. I happen to be going to a meeting tomorrow, so I'll help you apply by the way. Wang De thought to himself. I intended to cultivate Zhao Ran well, but now that I see his style of behavior, I have decided to observe it for a while longer. We will make a decision after confirming that there are no errors. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked into the store and Zhao Ran warmly greeted him. Hello, may I ask if there is anything I can help with? The man looked around and said frankly. Do you sell bicycles here? I want to buy one. This statement made Wang De instantly aware of the opportunity, and he quickly responded. Not yet, but it will arrive soon. Others feel that the purchase of bicycles is imminent. Zhao Ran didn't take these trivial matters to heart and went straight back to the courtyard. After working hard all day, what he craves most at this moment is a moment of peace and relaxation. However, just as his thoughts were drifting, a shout shattered the tranquility. Zhao Ran, there will be a meeting later. The voice came from Zhonghai. Upon hearing it, Zhao Ran raised his eyebrows slightly and looked towards the source of the sound with a hint of confusion. Despite his calm inner turmoil, he couldn't help but feel a bit puzzled by the sudden notice of the meeting. Most likely, the meetings in the courtyard are related to the Jia family, and Zhao Ran has never wanted to be involved in such disputes. He bluntly expressed his speculation in his heart, but it caused Zhonghai's face to change sharply. You'll know later. After speaking, Zhonghai turned around and left. Zhao Ran pondered alone. Just as he was about to turn around and return to his room, he ignored the matter but was stopped by a shout of Zhao Ran. Looking back, it turned out that Su Damao was standing in front of him. This made Zhao Ran couldn't help but wonder. Su Damao, what are you doing here for? In people's eyes, Su Damao has a complex image, with some praising him for being charming, while others criticize him for being a despicable person. But in Zhao Ran's opinion, Su Damao simply yearned for a child, but never succeeded. And this is not entirely a problem for the women around him, the root cause may lie in himself. Su Damao smiled at the corner of his mouth and asked Zhao Ran if he was aware of the meeting content. Zhao Ran was confused and asked Su Damao if he knew. Su Damao took the opportunity to invite him to his home for a detailed discussion. Zhao Ran considered for a moment and felt that this was not inappropriate, so he agreed. In fact, Zhao Ran's appointment was not entirely due to Su Damao's invitation, but more because of Su Tangtang. Su Tangtang is a cousin who stayed at Su Damao's house for a period of time. This was searched by Zhao Ran through the original owner's memory. It is a content that does not belong to the plot of a film or television drama. He secretly speculated. Su Tangtang's appearance is different from Su Damao's family, belonging to the Qingli style. Living with Su Tangtang may bring unexpected surprises. As they walked and talked, they were about to enter Su Damao's house. A cold and piercing voice came. Cousin, why did you bring back your indecisive friends again? The speaker was Su Tangtang, obviously quite dissatisfied with Su Damao's behavior. However, when her gaze met Zhao Ran, she was instantly embarrassed. She never expected that Zhao Ran would appear here. In her heart, Zhao Ran's image far surpasses her cousin Su Damao. In private, she has also made multiple comparisons with men in the courtyard such as Zhao Ran, cousin, and He Yuzhu. The result is naturally that Zhao Ran is superior. Su Damahun didn't care and greeted Su Tangtang to prepare meals and entertain Zhao Ran. Zhao Ran is not sure what medicine Su Damao sells in his gourd. But intuition told him that Su Damao's next words were not simple. After preparing the food and drinks, Damao looked serious and whispered. Zhao Ran, do you know what Grandpa E has in mind? Zhao Ran shook his head in confusion, and Damao took a step closer and solemnly revealed the shocking news. He plans to start with us, starting with you and then me, with the aim of donating money to the Jia family. Zhao Ran was surprised upon hearing this, but after some thought, he felt it was reasonable. I see, it really needs to be handled with caution. Damao was deeply convinced and emphasized that they must unite at this moment. At this moment, Tang stood aside and didn't take it seriously. Chapter 10. Zhao Ran openly opposes the two masters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Zhao Ran openly opposes the two masters. Cousin, don't be alarmist. I think Mr. E and his team are quite good. Upon hearing this, Damao immediately became furious. He was well aware of Yi Zhonghai's hypocrisy and cunning, but he did not expect Tang to be deceived by his false appearance. Damao angrily pointed out. An old man has a smooth surface. In this courtyard, I still think Zhao Ran is reliable. We need to get closer in the future. Zhao Ran nodded in agreement and said, Don't worry, Damao. I think so too. But what should we do next? Unexpectedly, Damao spread his hands. I have no idea, I'm still counting on you to come up with a plan. Zhao Ran felt slightly disappointed upon hearing these words. I thought Damao was confident, but to my surprise, he was at a loss. Since that's the case, Zhao Ran has already made up his mind. He patted his chest and confidently said. Leave it to me. The courtyard meeting has been held. Zhao Ran remained calm and had a clear understanding of this. Not only that, but as he watched the whole scene, a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It's quite interesting. He thought to himself, next, I should also play with you well. While Zhao Ran was contemplating alone, Damao beside him was restless. I always feel like my actions are not quite right. But what can he say now that the matter has come to an end? I can only helplessly say to Zhao Ran, it will depend on your performance later. Zhao Ran waved his hand lightly, his expression relaxed. Don't worry, such a small matter is no problem for me. Damao listened carefully and felt that he didn't need to worry too much, so he just watched it quietly. Soon, Yi Zhonghai cleared his throat and took the stage, announcing the start of the conference. Today we are holding a general meeting of the entire court, with the topic of raising funds for the struggling Jia family. As soon as these words were spoken, the audience was filled with noise. Fundraising again. How long has it been since then? My family is also facing great difficulties, how can we have any extra money to donate? The old man spoke up, and we can't stand idly by. If you can help, just give it a hand. Amidst the chatter, Zhang squinted and calculated. We'll have to catch it for dozens of dollars no matter what. While contemplating, suddenly someone in the crowd opposed. I think this is inappropriate and unreasonable. Zhang looked angrily for it and recognized that the person was Zhao Ran at a glance. He immediately became furious. It's this guy's bad thing again. Jia Dongxu was also indignant on the side. This guy still wants to ruin the good things in our family, I won't let him off lightly. Zhao Ran calmly responded to Yi Zhonghai. Grandpa, that's not right. Where exactly is the Jia family facing difficulties? Why do they need us to donate? Everyone's life is not easy, isn't donating like this adding insult to injury? He looked straight at Qin Huairu and spoke calmly. Damao understood and agreed. Yes, Grandpa, isn't this just nonsense? Is the conference just for the sake of troublemaking these trivial matters? Yi Zhong felt embarrassed on the sea surface, but he couldn't express himself clearly. At this moment, Lu Haizhong interjected, Lao Yi, what's the point of arguing with them? All members must participate in this donation, Otherwise wouldn't the unity and friendship of our courtyard be broken? Lu Haizhong was quite dissatisfied with Zhao Ran. Zhao Ran secretly laughed and said to himself, "This bangs really add insult to injury." He raised his eyebrows and looked at the bangs. Does the unity of the courtyard rely on donations? Afterwards, I won't work anymore and will wait for others to donate to support me. Second Grandpa, I don't have any money now. Please donate it to me as soon as possible. Zhao Ran's words resonated with everyone. The scene was chaotic for a while, and everyone was discussing it. Zhao Ran just smiled indifferently, noticing that Yi Zhonghai and Lu Hai were so angry that their faces turned pale. He secretly rejoiced in his heart, but remained calm and raised his hand, saying, "Grandpa, if it's okay, I'll leave first." Yi Zhonghai was furious. "Zhao Ran, stop me." Upon hearing these words, Zhao Ran frowned slightly. "Looking at the scene in front of me, it's obvious that I'm a bit confused about it." He looked at Yi Zhonghai with confusion. "What's wrong, Grandpa? You want me to pay for the donation again?" When asked by Zhao Ran, Yi Zhonghai felt even more uncomfortable and his expression became even more bitter. The atmosphere around him was clear and everyone knew it, and Yi Zhonghai's emotions at the moment were even more difficult to conceal. He said to Zhao Ran with a stern expression on his face, Zhao, your attitude clearly has a big problem. Not following everyone's approach is a sign of being unsociable. If you continue to be so unsociable, you will definitely regret it in the future." The bangs on the side also echoed. "Yeah, Zhao Ran, what you're doing is really excessive." The two of them were planning to give Zhao Ran a good lesson. Unexpectedly, he interrupted their offensive. Okay, both of you, don't say anything more." Zhao Ran raised his chin and calmly announced, "I have informed Director Wang of the street office to come and evaluate." When this statement was made, everyone around was shocked. His gaze turned towards Zhao Ran, with different expressions. Yi Zhonghai's face suddenly changed and he muttered to himself. He always has the final say in this courtyard. How dare Zhao Ran involve Director Wang? At this moment, a calm female voice came from afar. "Is there anything I can't know?" Everyone followed the sound and looked away. I saw a middle-aged woman in her 40s walking towards this direction, and it was the famous Director Wang. Upon seeing this, Yi Zhonghai and others immediately suppressed their anger and put on a smiling face to greet them.